All right, we're going to take a look at the second part of our video series on SoftChalk Cloud. Today we're going to look at the basic content development tools, text and links and images and those type of things. But first, we want to just kind of recap a little bit. To get to where you can go in and type in information, you have a couple of different choices. You can edit online, which SoftChalk calls create online, or you can edit in the application, which SoftChalk calls just create, or the create app. It used to be that you had to do everything through the application, and over time SoftChalk is adding more and more to be done online, which is pretty good. The one kind of bugaboo that a lot of people are really frustrated with is that you can't really start a new lesson in Create Online. You have to use the app to go in and create a new lesson. However, you can take an already existing lesson, even if it's blank, and then copy it and then use Create Online for that. So sometimes teachers will do that. They'll just make a blank one, put it into their, they'll just call it template or starter or whatever the case is. And then within the online platform here, within SoftChalk's website, they'll just go in and make a copy of that, and off they go. All right, I've opened up a lesson from my inbox of lessons here. This is actually one in the Ollie Online Learning 101 course. And in here, just to review, we've got it down here where you can go in and access that lesson. You can download a copy of this, and then when you do that within your SoftChalk program, which I'm going to launch here in a second, you could go File Open. But you don't even have to do that. If I click on Edit Lesson and I click in Edit in Create, it will automatically pop open that. It takes a little bit of time. You saw it kind of pop open, and it's going to go through a check to see if there are any updates to the software, and if so, it's going to prompt you to go in and do that. And then it'll, if not, like in my case, it'll go ahead and download the lesson, and there you go. It's all ready for you. Okay. Two other things though. I mentioned you could also, from here, you can go in, click Edit Lesson, and click Edit in Create Online. We're going to do that too, so you can see both of the things at once. So this is how you create it within your, edit it within your browser. And then the second thing is from here, let's say I wanted to, let's do this. Let me close this. I want to open up this fresh lesson, not from launching it from the website, but from the app itself. So I'm going to just open up the app itself, and it's going to come to a blank document, okay? And I could start typing within that blank document and start creating the lesson, much as you would like a Microsoft Word document or a Google Doc or everything like that, okay? So that's all the same, but I wanted to show you how to go in and open something firsthand. So if you go under File, you can go Open, and that's where you would go File Open, like you downloaded the lesson to your computer, and then you File Open, you find that lesson, and then you open it up. However, in SoftChalk Cloud, it actually makes a little bit more sense if you open up the copy off of the cloud, especially if you're working with fellow designers. So a lot of people are working on the same one. That way you can get the most recent copy there as opposed to whatever you've got on your computer. And to do that, you just click File, Open from SoftChalk Cloud. Now, if you are not already linked with your account, it'll prompt you to do that. You'll have to log into your SoftChalk Cloud account. But once you are, it will already be there. You won't have to do it again. So this is my inbox. We saw this before in the previous video. I'm going to go down under the Ollie Lessons. I'm going to find that one that I wanted to edit, the Online Coach, and then I'm going to click Open. And that's going to do the same thing I did before. You might say, well, why do one versus the other? It's kind of just your preference of how you want to go in and open those up. All right. Now, looking at this online lesson, I wanted to show you one that was already created just to give you a feel for how it looks as we go. All right. So you're going to see some things. You're going to see what are called headers here. Much like unit headers within a learning management system, the lesson has headers as well. All right. And those headers have different types, weights to them. So this is a heading 1 weight. Heading 2 would be a little bit smaller. For example, this one down here is a heading 2, and so forth. Then there's also just plain text right there too. And it's important that you kind of utilize those different headers rather than try to mess around with the font size and such. Obviously, we have an image already in here, and the button to add an image is right here on the screen. It looks like kind of some mountains right there. If I highlight an image and then hit that button, that image will come up, and then it's going to describe some things here. Now, I'm going to go through this again from a blank one here, but I just wanted to show you how you can go take an image that's already there and then edit it. You just click on it and it brings up that little photo editor. All right. This is the key part here. This is a page break, and so what you're seeing here is actually page 2 of the lesson. Above is page 1. All right, and a page break is added simply by going under Insert and then do Page Break. Now I'm already highlighted on one, so I have to click off of it to actually insert a page break there. Okay. If I wanted to combine these two pages, I just delete the page break, and then they'd be all on one page. All right. Now, you can see other things. You got tables. Here are some links, okay? And links are very simply, I just highlight the text, and I'm going to hit the link button, which is this little globe with the little chain link on it. I've already got a link here, so it's actually going to bring up what that link is. But if I wanted to create a new link, say I wanted education to be a link, I could click on there, and then I get a blank little pop up here to say what's your URL that you'd like. You can also, by the way, make it to an email address or to a file. So if you wanted to link to like a PDF document, you could do that, either one on your computer or one up on the cloud. Okay. In addition to that, so you see here, this is a table that you can add. Most people don't use tables anymore. I still use them because I'm a little bit old school, but a lot of people go and do other things with that. This particular lesson doesn't have any interactions I can see in it, so we'll show you how to do that separately. If you had an interaction in it, you wouldn't really be able to see it in this editor mode. It'd just be kind of a gray screen saying that it's a such and such interaction. All right, you're going to see the very same type of thing if I click over here in the editor within this as well. So again, you've got an image. My image icon is right here, and I can go in and edit this image, including changing the alignment and the width and the height and all that other stuff. Okay, I can go in and get the links, as I mentioned before. There they are. Click on the little link button right there and edit that. Okay, so very similar in that process. All right. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to, oh, and by the way, when you have made a change, let's say I just put in a little change there. Oh. If I got to make a change, and then if I do, this becomes active. That's the save button. Unlike Google Docs, it does not automatically save, but it does tell you if you've made changes with this little asterisk here. So I always do a visual check to make sure before I close a window had I made any changes. So make sure I click that save button before I go in and I do it. The other thing you can do too is you can hit this little preview button here, and that's just going to pop it open and show you what it looks like here. And then from this one, that preview button is right here. So save and preview. It's a little globe with a magnifying glass on it. All right, let's do this. Let's open up a new file. When I close the window, SoftChalk actually quits as an application. I'm not sure why it does that. It's not my favorite feature, but I have to go in and reopen the application. So instead of closing it like I did, what I should have done is just gone up to SoftChalk File and down to New Lesson, and then I wouldn't have to close it. All right, I'll just show you that here, so you can go File New. All right, now I'm creating a new lesson. If you're creating a new lesson, one of the most important things I can tell you is you need to save that lesson somewhere other than doing File Save. If you do File Save, it actually saves it in what's called a temporary folder on your computer. It's a SoftChalk temporary folder. The problem is that if you then go, let's say you were to not save it anywhere else, it's in the temporary folder, and then you quit SoftChalk, and then you open up SoftChalk later on and start a new file, guess what? It makes that new lesson in the same SoftChalk temporary folder, overwriting your old lesson. So that has happened to many people, and it's one thing that they want to quickly get in the habit of changing their practice. So you can do this a couple ways. If you want to save it on your computer, just do a File Save As. Go on your desktop or wherever. It can be saved anywhere else other than in the temporary folder, which typically is hard to find. It's in their documents. That's it right there. SoftChalk download temp dir 1. So as long as I don't save it there, save it anywhere else on the computer, I can leave it untitled. I obviously would be probably better off if I called it something that I would know, like coaching lesson, and click save. And that's kind of a good thing. Since you are saving this as a web page, spaces are not a good thing. So if I wanted to have a space, I might do an underscore, and that will work great. Okay. The other way you can go in and save it is just to go under File and save directly to SoftChalk Cloud. And if you do that, it's going to pull open your inbox just like before, and you can put it in whatever folder you'd like. Let's say I wanted to put it into my Ollie folder. I could do that. And then I could type in the name and click save. You could also, if you were to, for some reason, like you downloaded the file and then you're going and saving it back, you can click on an existing lesson. So I could click on this one. If I click save here, what it's going to do is it's going to overwrite whatever lesson that I had there. So careful with that. Now, one good thing about SoftChalk is SoftChalk does have history. It has version history, so you can go back and see a previous version that it was saved as. SoftChalk Cloud has that. So if you did accidentally overwrite it, you could go back in, grab an older copy of it, and then resave that, or even download it, do a save as, and call it something else if you'd like. So that is a good thing. It's very similar to Google Drive's version history. All right, I'm going to not save it. We're just going to continue on here. Okay, so we talked about the basic tools. Text tool, let's say I want to call this my title. Spell that right. And here is my paragraph text here. And just for, didn't do that quite right. We're just going to add in some paragraphs really quick. All right. Okay, and so I've got that in there. So text, I mentioned before, you can go in under your headings and then make that a heading 1 title. That's important to do. If you want to put in an image, I'm going to go ahead and put my cursor here with my text. And then I'm going to go and click on there. Right now it's saying select an image, and I can do that. I can go to my, let's see, where we got some pictures, and we'll go under, I got some screenshots that I've added over time here. And let's say that's the one I'm going to add in. Now, when you go and add it in, you're going to see this red icon here on some occasions, and that's because the file size is huge in this case. And it's not what we call optimized. In other words, it's going to take a long time to go and load that image because the image is over over a megabyte in size by itself. So SoftChalk makes it easy to resize it. You just click Optimize Image, and then voila, it's done. Okay. Now you can still resize it off of that because right now it's saying this is going to be 800 pixels wide. Some people ask, well, how big is really the width of your lesson? And it varies because different screens vary. In the past, we've said design for 1,000 pixels wide. Most browsers, most internet monitors and such will be at least 1,200 pixels wide. And so if I had an image, if I wanted to make it full screen, I could go ahead and do, 1,000, and to do that, 800 would probably be pretty good if I wanted to go full screen. But if I only wanted to be part of the screen, I don't want to necessarily make it 800. So let's say I'm going to put that down to about 600, which would be a little bit better. All right. Now, if I want it to be only part of the screen, I want my text to go around it. So I'm going to go ahead and click Align. And if I put it on the left side, my picture will be on the left over there. I'm actually going to go ahead and move it over to the right. And then down here, it's going to ask me, what do you want for a margin? Well, 20 is quite big. That means 5 pixels, or 20 pixels. And I kind of like 5 instead. So I'm going to make, actually my right size, I don't need any margin on there because it's all the way to the right. So I just need it on the left and really the bottom. And sometimes people play around with that and they figure out what they like to make it look good. Okay. There is one other thing you have to do, and you can see it says required here, and it says alt text. Alt text is the alternative text for a picture. We've mentioned this in other places within the Ollie series. for accessibility matters, you must go and add in a description of that image so that individuals who have screen readers or just they're not displaying the images of their browser can understand what that picture includes. It doesn't have to be, you know, very descriptive, so I'm just going to say screenshot of the registration. This is probably more descriptive than I need it to be, but in some cases it doesn't really matter what I say, and so I just kind of put in picture or what have you. But again, if it is important what that is a picture of, it's your duty as a designer to go in and describe it. All right, so you see I put it in there. I aligned it to the right. Now if I ever need to go in and adjust it, just like we had said before, click on the image and click on that and it'll pull it open. All right, now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and insert a page break. I'm going to do that. Voila, now I'm ready for page 2. And I'm going to go ahead and make that heading 1. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and copy this text again and paste that in there. So I've got some more text. We mentioned before we could go in and make links. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And right here again, it's going to ask for a destination link title. It's another accessibility thing. This can be the same thing as wherever you're going. So let's say I'm going to the AEA Learning Online website. Gosh, my typing. And then I'll just type that in. And click OK. And then there you've got a link. If I wanted to make it an email, I could do the same thing. Click here and click an email. And I need to say, yep, email this to me. I could pre-fill in whatever the subject and the body of it should say. You don't have to do that. Just basically put the email address in there. And then for this, the description link really isn't that important. I'll just put that. And finally, I could also go in and make a link to a file. And we mentioned that before. A cloud file, like in Google Drive, would be to go in to this is into your SoftChalk area here, where and we looked at that in the first video, where you can have files and things in there. So I could go in and say, I want to link to this file if I wanted to, and I could cancel that. I could also click to do a local file, and here again, if I go to my desktop and I find a PDF, let's say it's this one, and I click open, and then I click OK. See, it's asking me to put in that ADA link there, and I click OK. And now what it's going to do is when I save this, it's actually going to upload that PDF in addition to the lesson itself. Okay. If you wanted to go and link to a Google Drive file, that's really a link to a web page. It's not really a link to a file, even though it is a file on Google Drive. You just get the link off of Google Drive, and then you paste it in there. All right. All right, one more thing I want to show you. I mentioned before that you can go in and put things up into Google Cloud, like other images, Google Cloud, SoftChalk Cloud, that you use over and over again. And I want to show you how to put those into. If you click this, it's just going to ask you to get an image off of your computer, which you don't necessarily want to do. So if I go in under Insert, I can come down here and I can go to SoftChalk Cloud Item. I had to find it there. And this is going to go into SoftChalk Cloud, and it's going to say pick an item from your list and then pick to go and add that in. So my item, I'm sorry, that's Learning Objects. I can go under Files, which is where I have my images saved. I've got some images there. I'm going to go under Icons, where I've saved some other images. It will preview what it is there, and then you can go in and insert that. And what's nice is you can either insert the image in a lesson, or you can make what's called a reference. It'll still put the picture in a lesson, it'll look everything like it, but you don't actually make a copy of the image. It saves you space up in Google Cloud because you're only using one image. It's just used in many different lessons. So I kind of like that. I go ahead and click OK, and then I close. Now I click on it. I go in and I make my alignment and my changes and everything there once I put that in. Okay. All right, so that's a look at those. One last item for basic text is that you'll have the embed that you want to use. So let's go in and grab some embed code. Let's go to youtube.com. And let's grab this guy right here. And yeah, we don't need to see those commercials. If I click share, and I'm going to go ahead and grab the embed code. Hopefully you've seen how to do that before. And then I go back in here. I'm going to go ahead and insert. And under insert, I want to insert a widget. And I click on that. And we'll just call this a YouTube video. I'd be more descriptive, but I don't know what I clicked on, how to make my video intros. And then I click OK. Now, I mentioned earlier that you might see that type of a gray screen. You don't see things like embeds, and when we look at interactives and assessments here in later videos, in our editing screen, you don't see that. But if I were to save it and then preview it, here's my lesson so far. And it's starting to build a table of contents. If I go to page 2, there is my lesson. Now, if you're a little more versed with embed code, you'll know how to make this bigger. If you'd like, you can obviously make it full screen and such. It just takes the default embed code off of there. Okay. Now, the other thing too is you can go ahead and do that within here, but it's a little different. So let's say I want to insert that same video on this page right here. I'm going to click on source. It doesn't really have you where you can go in and insert a widget. So you click source, and here you have your code. It's kind of like you have in Moodle or other learning management systems. So I'd want to find that place in the module, which is, let's see, it's under cognitive coaching. Let's just say it's right here. And I would paste in right there and click OK. And then within my lesson, let's find where I put it. There it is. Okay, so that's where that video is. Okay, I'm not going to save it in there, but that's how you could go in on the online version and put it in embed. All right, so that's a look at the content tools. We'll be back next time to look at assessment tools within SoftChalk.